Alright boys and girls, welcome back to another video. Welcome to Orlando North Air Park, which is where the aircraft that I rent are headquartered. I brought 781 Bravo Golf here to the hangar to get a very minor, non-essential thing taken care of on the plane. Doesn't really affect anything, however, the mechanics here at Van Ander and the owner like to get things sorted, which is good. That's what you want in a rental company. But yeah, what's this video about? Let's find out, shall we? Hot. Hi boys and girls, welcome to the cockpit of 781 Bravo Golf. I'm solo today. Well, you're with me. 3 different airports, 3 different emergencies, 3 different challenges for me to face today. I've not flown solo at least, or me doing absolutely everything in the plane for about a month, so it's high time I came out to do a little bit of practice, a little bit of proficiency stuff, and see if I still got the skills, because I've got some stuff that I'm going to be doing soon in bigger aeroplanes that I need to kind of prepare for. So this is kind of like a loosening up session. 35 degrees Celsius, I'm sweating. Hopefully that doesn't put you off watching the video, but I feel disgusting. And I'm going to do a soft field takeoff to begin with here at exec. Just a little bit of practice. Executive Tower, Skyhawk 781 Bravo Golf, holding short, runway 7 Alpha 7, ready for departure.
Here 781 Bravo Golf, exec tower, stand by, get traffic just inside mile final.
I just saw him as I called, sorry. We'll hold short at 781 Bravo Golf.
Hey man, it happens.
Always check final before you call. Moron, there you go. That's why we're out doing this, a bit of proficiency. See if I've lost anything other than sweat consciousness because of this fucking heat.
Remember 781 Bravo Golf, left turn northbound is approved for now, runway 7 Alpha 7, clear for takeoff, Skyhawk on the go, is staying in the pattern. To the number.
Alright, we'll fall back.
7, clear, touch and go.
On this, no more brakes. Well, a little bit to get this thing turning. That's the Cessna's for you. Runway 7 is correct. We roll. Get the centre line, let that nose come up. We are light today, so it's going to want to fly. She's light. Put it in ground effects. Let the speed bleed up. High density altitude today, very, very hot. There we go, that's enough.
Orlando approach.
Welcome to the sky.
2 Bravo Kilos,
100 feet above, flaps up.
Runway 7. 7, citation 2 Bravo.
Then turn the centre line. 79 knots for VY. Then turn the right rudder still.
Redburn 408.
Alright, so I can still do a short fit. I always mix them up. So I can still do a soft field takeoff. Cool. All the traffic inside, 500 feet, waiting for 700 feet, then it's a left turn to the north. Initially, check my track, I'm on centre line. Left turn northbound, approved. Tell you what, I get a lot of messages from people overseas, mainly from England, saying that they want to come over and fly in the US because it's better doing it over here.
Remember 95150.
Are you sure?
Remember 781 Bravo Golf, continuing your left turn northwestbound.
Left turn northwestbound, 1 Bravo Golf, thanks. So yeah, you know, regardless of how many hours you've got, you've always got to keep proficient. You could have had thousands and thousands of hours of flying from years ago and have not flown in years, and you would come back and you would be shit. You're going to knock the rust off, so that's exactly what we're doing today. I'm knocking the sweat off, the sweat's dripping off me, so that's, you know, that's not a problem. Lake Pocket traffic, Skyhawk 781 Bravo Golf, 1,800 feet, east side Lake Pocket, heading northwestbound, climbing up to 3,000 Lake Pocket.
Blue Dick.
Welcome to the sky.
Throw another shrimp on the barbie.
Well, that's not where I'm from. First emergency landing is going to be, oh, this is all simulated by the by, this is going to be a steep spiral emergency descent starting at 3,000 feet. We're going to spiral it down as much as we need to be able to set ourselves up for a power off approach into runway 09 down here at Orlando North. I'm going to take into account the wind, which is coming from the east, so I've got a headwind at the moment. I'll spin it around to the downwind and we'll do the turns, but you've got to compensate for wind drift, I think, back to turns around a point. You know, ground reference manoeuvres. With a tailwind, it's going to have to be slightly steeper. With a headwind, you've got to shallow it up a little bit. So, commercial ACI standards for this is no more than 60 degrees of bank. So, no more than this line here, and obviously vary it for the wind. So that's what we'll do. I'm going to position myself here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to do right turns. And here we go, power's gone. Landing off traffic, Skyhawk 71 Bravo Golf, steep spiral from 3,000 feet to the right downwind runway 09 at Orlando North. Alrighty, so with the tailwind, it's got to be steeper at that point. Now I'm starting to shallow it as we're coming up to the headwind. And now it's going to go back to a tailwind, so I need to kind of steepen it up. And you can feel the wind playing with you. And you want to stay around the same place that you were. I'm going to clear the engine there. We got the same distance. There's the steep part. I'm bringing it back to kind of shallow up here. Need to watch my airspeed there, keep the nose down. Beautiful, looking good. Now it's going to go towards the tailwind, so I'm going to have to keep steepening it up a little bit. Looking good. Get that nose down, clear the engine. We are the same distance, we're looking good. No more than 60 degrees of bank, I'm around 90 knots, it's where I want to be. Now we're into the headwind portion. I'm going to shallow it up a little bit, rudder controls are where I want it. I want to get it to around 90 knots, there it is. Swinging it around. And from 3,000 feet we've lost 1,500 feet, 3 turns. We're onto a downwind, and now we're in a power off 180 situation. I'll take that any day of the week. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it in, I'm going to give myself 10 degrees of flaps. All on the north, Skyhawk 71 Bravo Golf, right base, runway 09er. Full stop, all on the north. So now we're just approaching 1,000 feet now. My speed's where I want it. See how much I'm sweating. Christ. So if I know I'm high, I'm going to get my last notch in. Be able to bring it down, but also not increase the airspeed too much. It's a short runway, 2,500 feet. But we're looking good at the moment. Speed's kind of stabilised. I need to help myself out with some trim. Yeah, this is looking alright. Speed's okay, speed's where I want it. 300 feet, yeah, we're golden here. We're just gliding it in. We're just gliding it in. Landing off traffic, Skyhawk 71 Bravo Golf, short final runway 09, full stop, landing off. Yeah, here we go. Alright, now it's just landed. Speed's okay. Bring it in nicely, tap dance on those rudders. Smooth touchdown. And let it roll out. Welcome to Orlando North.
The steep spiral emergency descent is a great tool to have in your pilot arsenal. In the US, it's only tested at the commercial pilot level, but I believe regardless of what certificate you have, it's important to know how to do. Because without this tool, if your engine fails at altitude and your only landing point is directly below you, you might be inclined to glide away from the point before turning back, which extends your time in the air with an emergency, and you run the risk of not making the landing site. The steep spiral not only keeps you close to your target, but allows you to lose altitude a lot faster without risking flying too far away. I highly recommend practicing it. But now that mechanics have fixed the minor item, it's time for me to move on to my next emergency item, which is an engine failure in the traffic pattern, also known as a power off 180.
We've got it, we're rolling. Wind is straight down the runway. There's the old Cessna sound. Alright, 55, we rotate. Welcome to the sky.
While we're on this short hop from Orlando North Air Park over to Orlando Apopka Airport, if you're enjoying the video, I ask just 2 things from you. If you can hit the like button and subscribe to Ludix Aviation if you're not already subscribed. I'm trying to get my brand of fun-filled aviation videos in front of as many people as possible, and that really helps me out.
So here we go, comms check's done, we're all done. We're on the 45, we're going to do a power off 180 approach. Fairly simple, but always good to come out and practice. Always an advocate of training private pilot students on power off 180s, as I'm sure a lot of other people are, but I've seen people come to me and having never having done a power off 180, even, you know, past PPL, into instruments and stuff. So, alright, we got to make sure that we make the runway, not only that we make the runway, but also that we don't overshoot on touchdown. I'm aiming for a touch and go here, so we're going to turn base. Apopka traffic, Skyhawk 71 Bravo Golf, right base, runway 15, touch and go, Apopka. I'm going to put 2 notches of flaps in here. There's nothing saying that you have to do a symmetrical pattern. Emergency situation, of course, the engine has gone. However, we'll see what we need. Seems to be gliding very slowly, but very stably. Stabilised around 65 or so. I'm kind of angled a little bit towards the runway just to make sure.
North traffic, Cessna 5223 Quebec. We're on a 3-mile final, straight in, runway 14, full stop. Tampa North traffic.
Pocket traffic, Sky 71 Bravo Golf base, the final runway 015 pocket. Final notch of flaps. I am slightly high, although the glide slope is telling me otherwise. And here we go. Speed is just slightly above where I want it, but it's kind of bleeding off now. We've made the runway, we've just got to make sure it's a decent landing. Float. Pirates of the Caribbean style. Captain Jack, nice touchdown, flaps up, and we roll. Made the runway, plenty of it to spare. Welcome back to the sky. And that's a power off 180. Alright, so that's 2 emergency situations dealt with. Now, for Orlando Executive, what we're going to go and do is a no-flap landing. And in a Cessna 172, it is imperative power and airspeed control.
Landing with no flaps raises some questions, one of them being, is it really an emergency? The answer to that, in my opinion, depends on the aircraft you're flying and to some extent the pilot. In transport category aircraft like airliners, it's absolutely an emergency procedure. Airline pilots must recalculate landing distances and rollout, how much braking is required, and even at what speed you can step on the brakes so as not to cause a fire. But what about general aviation aircraft like this little Skyboat? I know from my performance calculations the no-flap landing ground roll is going to be just over 800 feet, and over a 50-foot obstacle is around 1,850 feet, and I'm being very generous there with that calculation. The runway I'm landing on has 5,700 feet available for me, so that's absolutely fine. But if I were to go back into Orlando North, where we just came from, that's a 2,500-foot runway, which would cut it very close. Things like the faster approach speed, ballooning during landing due to less drag, airspeed fluctuations, and the sight picture being different must all be considered. A high-time boat captain may be okay with all of these, whereas a student on a solo might not be. At the end of the day, this is a flight control failure. May not be a primary flight control, but if you as the pilot determine it's worthy of declaring, you are well within your rights to do so. However, I'm going to try and show you here that it can be done relatively easily. Famous last words.
Alright, so no flap landing. I must make sure that I bleed my speed off as much as I can. I'm aiming again for around 65, but of course we don't have the extra lift from the flaps. Play with that pitch, play with the power to get it to do what you want to do. It's a lot more hands-on, in my opinion. I mean, well, all landings are hands-on, but it's a lot more strenuous, in my opinion, to land without flaps. Now, it is a flight control failure. It's not a primary flight control failure, of course, but it's still a flight control failure. I do have another emergency situation in mind, which I like to talk to my students about, which I'll see if I can kind of simulate it. It's a weird one. Alright, here we go. No flap landing. Oh, God. It's always there just to remind you that you are so vulnerable up here. Making me look stupid. Alright, so I'm already fighting this thing to try and slow it down.
So 1 Bravo Golf number 2, full traffic on a half-mile final, runway 7, clear touch and go.
I got the traffic sight, clear touch and go, runway 7, we are number 2, 1 Bravo Golf. So I'm back, starting to kind of slow it down. It takes a lot more trim, nose up, obviously pitching for airspeed, power for altitude. You come in a lot, when you got flaps in there, you can come in with a steeper descent angle, of course, but in this situation you're coming in a lot flatter. So I know I'm a little bit high, so I can back off the power a little bit, and I'm just trying to keep that nose up in order to keep the speed bleeding down. Now I'm adding power again. Alright, so I'm idle now. Let's see what the aircraft wants to do. So we've got a decent descent rate, airspeed's bleeding off. I'm looking for around 65. My nose is really high, it feels really weird. Really odd. There we go, we're on the glide slope. Now as soon as I add that power in there, as soon as I put it back in, that speed just comes up, increasing the speed, so now I've gone slightly higher so the power can come back, but if I drop the nose like that, the airspeed starts to increase. But here we go. Alright, I'm power idle, I don't need any more power the whole way down. I'll keep my hand here just if I need to go around, but here we go.
Mike Alpha, left full traffic approved.
Now it's going to flow.
Left turn, 70 Mike Alpha.
Floaty, floaty, floats. This isn't the Cessna's fault, this is because we're coming in no flaps. Oh, it's a beautiful landing. Flaps up, we know, let's roll. See how much we floated though. And we're airborne, welcome back to the sky. Yeah, it floated so much more than usual because you got no flaps in there. But we dealt with the situation. Right, so that's steep spiral to a landing, done. Power off 180 to a landing, done. No flap landing, done. Next, the throttle is going to be stuck. Take you through what I would do in that situation. And it's actually very simple.
Number 1 Bravo Golf, you're number 3, runway 7, clear for the option.
Alright, number 3, clear for the option for 781 Bravo Golf, full stop. So okay, I'm going to leave the power where it is, about 2000 RPM, and that's where it's going to be. We're in an emergency, we declared the emergency. In this situation we wouldn't be following other traffic, but for actually this scenario, because they've extended, that actually helps me out with what I want to do. So, what I would do, I'd put yourself into this position here, downwind, and power off 180 it, to be honest. Like, I'd pull the mixture now, because you can't do anything with the throttle, throttle's stuck, whatever you're doing, it won't change, nothing's changing. I'd power off 180 it to the runway, because I know I can make it from here. Now, let's say you were coming in on final, like we're going to do now, and your throttle was stuck forward. Let's see how this goes. Same kind of scenario, or same kind of thing. Once I know I've made the runway, I'm chopping the engine. I'd rather be high than low on this particular runway because it's a long runway. I know I've got plenty of runway, but when I know I've made it, I would chop the mixture, which will cut off the engine. Now, I'm not actually going to do that in this situation, but so I can't touch that. That's got to stay where it is. Now I'm just slowly starting a descent, just very slowly, because I know I'm going to be high. Slowly does it. I still don't think I've made it quite yet. Still don't think I've made it. Because of course we got a headwind as well now, which is going to slow us down if we chop the power, so it's imperative that you know you've made the runway. Now I think I've made the runway, so at this point I would be chopping back the mixture. The engine would be gone, I'd be shutting this thing down. We're below 110, I'm putting 10 degrees of flaps in. I need to get it below 85, I need to drop everything in there. There's my 85, I'm slapping in every bit of flap I've got. I know the prop's windmilling, still got it going, but in this situation it would be stopped. But here we go, I'm gliding it in. I said I'd prefer to be a little bit higher than obviously too low, because I need to make sure I've made the runway. We are high. However, look at my airspeed, I got my airspeed down, I chopped the engine at a really nice time it seems. Now I've just got to be careful. We've done everything, mixture, well that's good, that's on. We're looking really good here, it just becomes a power off approach. I mean yeah, it's an emergency procedure, your throttle was stuck, but if you've trained to be able to deal with power off situations, do power off 180s, this is so simple. So we're coming in. Here we go. Bang on the numbers. So if you're having a situation whereby the throttle is stuck, you're going to have to cut it, you're going to have to cut the power, but you're going to have to judge where to cut it. If you cut it too soon, you run the risk of landing short, which you might be into a building at that point. And if you cut it too late, might run the risk of running off the end of the runway.
For the stuck throttle situation, in my opinion, it would be best to set up on a downwind for the power off 180. However, we never get to choose where and when we have an engine failure. It could happen anywhere at any time, which is why I was pleased to get up into the sky today to gain some proficiency in these maneuvers. We got through a steep spiral emergency descent, a power off 180, and a no flap landing before the stuck throttle. But what I want to know is, have you ever had a situation like any of these to deal with in the real world? And if you did, would you deal with it in the same way that I did, or would you do something completely different? I'd love to hear your thoughts, so I'll see you in the comments. Well, there we go. Nice bit of proficiency for me. Gets me back in the groove again. If you enjoyed the video, please leave it a like. If you're not subscribed, get yourself subscribed. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one. It's very hot.